Rain lashed against the windows that night, a cruel symphony echoing the chaos inside my home. The same house I'd built brick by brick with my bare hands, dreaming of a life filled with love, laughter, and loyalty. But that night, everything shattered. My wife, Clara, stood in the middle of the living room, her suitcase open, her diamond earrings glinting under the chandelier light. Her expression was cold, foreign, like I was just another stranger she'd outgrown. "You don't understand, Michael," she said, her voice trembling not with sadness but impatience. "I can't keep living like this. I deserve more than just your dreams." "My dreams," I whispered, staring at her. "The same dreams you used to believe in? The same ones that kept us up at night, laughing about the future?" But she didn't flinch. Not even when I said her name with the kind of ache that could split a man's soul. 2 weeks earlier, she'd received a $10 million inheritance from her late uncle, money that turned our humble world upside down. The warmth in her eyes had been replaced with arrogance, and her love with calculation. She threw the final blow with a smirk. "You're a man with potential, Michael. But potential doesn't pay for penthouses or private jets." And just like that, she walked out. I didn't beg. I didn't cry. I just stood there, staring at the door as it shut with the soft click of betrayal. Days turned into months. Every step felt heavy. Every breath a reminder that I'd been left for the illusion of power. But destiny, she's a patient sculptor. One morning, as I was sorting through old family documents in my father's dusty workshop, I found something buried under a pile of blueprints, a sketchbook. Inside it, pages were filled with intricate designs, mechanical, futuristic, visionary. I froze when I recognized the handwriting. It was my father's, the man who had died heartbroken, believing his ideas had been stolen by his business partner years ago. And then it struck me, the stolen concept. The smart grid energy system that had revolutionized renewable technology worldwide. His name was erased from history, but his genius lived in those pages. Something ignited inside me. I took those designs, refined them, improved every circuit, every algorithm. Nights turned into dawns as I worked in a small garage, driven not by revenge, but by the need to honor the man who'd been robbed of his legacy. When my prototype finally came to life, investors laughed. "You? Compete with the giants," they mocked. But when the first demo saved an entire city block during a blackout, silence replaced their laughter. The world took notice. Within a year, I founded Heliocore Industries, and by the third year, I wasn't just rich. I was a billionaire. My name appeared on every financial magazine, every headline. Michael Reed, the visionary behind the future of energy. And that's when she came back. Clara appeared at my office one afternoon, dressed in designer clothes, her perfume announcing her before her words did. She wore the same smile that once melted me, but now it felt like glass, beautiful, but sharp. "Michael," she said softly, her voice dripping with nostalgia. "I've missed you. I made a mistake." I didn't look up from my laptop. I had seen this scene play out in my head 1,000 times, and each time, it hurt less. "Did you?" I asked finally. "Or did you just miss the version of me that fits into your world now?" Her eyes watered, but I could tell it wasn't regret, it was fear. Fear of being left behind. Fear that the man she'd thrown away had become the man everyone wanted to know. "You have no idea how much I regret what I did," she whispered. "We can start over. We were perfect together." I leaned back, studying her face, the same face that once meant home. But now all I saw was a ghost of the woman who left me when I had nothing. "Clara," I said quietly, "you didn't love me. You loved what you thought I could give you. But you never believed in me until the world did." She reached out, trembling. "Please, Michael, just listen." But my assistant entered, holding a folder. "Sir, the board is waiting for you." I stood up. "Show her out." As I walked away, I could feel her eyes burning into my back, filled with the realization that some doors, once closed, never open again. But what she didn't know was that her story in my life wasn't over yet. Because fate, with all her cruel precision, was about to weave her back into my world, in a way neither of us could have ever imagined. 2 months passed before I saw her again. It was at a gala in downtown Lagos, a celebration of innovation and technology hosted by some of the world's most powerful investors. I wasn't planning to attend, but my board insisted it would strengthen Heliocore's global ties. So I went, suited in black, every inch of me the man I had once dreamed of becoming. Cameras flashed, glasses clinked, and conversations floated through the golden air like silk threads of ambition. And then I saw her. Clara. She stood near the marble staircase, wrapped in a gown of emerald satin, her hair cascading in perfect waves. She looked breathtaking, just as she always had. But there was something different this time. A fragility beneath the glamour, a quiet desperation behind her practiced smile. She spotted me almost instantly. Her eyes widened, as though she hadn't expected me to look so untouchable. She hesitated for a second, then approached, her heels clicking against the polished floor. "Michael," she said, her tone unsure, softer this time. "I didn't think you'd come." I sipped my champagne, offering her a calm smile. "Neither did I." She laughed nervously, her fingers brushing her necklace. "You look incredible. I heard about your new contract with the government. Everyone's talking about you." "People talk a lot," I said, keeping my eyes on the stage where a minister was giving a speech about the future of sustainable energy. "Most of them don't know the story behind the headlines." Clara's lips parted, and for a moment, I thought she might apologize again. But instead, she said, "I know. That's why I wanted to talk, to really talk." Before I could respond, the minister mentioned my name, calling me to the stage. The audience erupted in applause. Clara stepped back, her smile faltering as I walked past her toward the spotlight. As I gave my speech about innovation, legacy, and the power of belief, I caught her watching me. The crowd's cheers didn't move her. It was the mention of my father's name that did. When I said, "Everything I've built began with my father's stolen idea, an idea that I brought back to life," I saw her lips tremble. She finally understood that my success wasn't just wealth, it was redemption. After the ceremony, I found myself standing on the balcony, the city lights stretching like constellations below. The air smelled of rain again, just like the night she left me. I didn't hear her approach, but I felt her presence before she spoke. "I didn't know about your father," she said quietly, standing beside me. "I thought he just left you nothing." I turned to her, my gaze steady. "He left me more than money could ever buy. He left me faith, something you traded for comfort." Her shoulders slumped. "You're right," she admitted. "I was stupid, greedy. I thought happiness came with a price tag. I didn't realize the cost was you." For a long time, I said nothing. I watched the city breathe beneath us, 1,000 lives moving forward while ours stood still. Finally, I asked, "Are you happy now, Clara?" Her silence was answer enough. She exhaled shakily. "After I left you, I invested the inheritance. At first, it was easy. Money makes the world open its doors. But it doesn't fill the silence. And when the deals failed, when I trusted the wrong people," her voice cracked. "It was all gone within a year." I turned to face her. $10 million. Gone. She nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. I tried to rebuild. I really did. But doors started closing, friends disappeared. Everyone who once smiled at me turned away. "Now you understand," I said softly. "That love built on money dies the moment the money does." She stepped closer, her perfume mingling with the night air. "I don't want your money, Michael. I just want forgiveness. I want a chance to start again." Her words hung between us, fragile and trembling. And though part of me wanted to believe her, another part whispered caution. I'd walked through hell to become this man. I wasn't ready to hand my peace back to the person who shattered it. Before I could reply, my phone buzzed in my pocket. A message from my assistant. "Emergency meeting. The investor from Singapore wants to withdraw." Duty called. I looked at her one last time. "This isn't the place for second chances, Clara. I have to go." But her hand reached out, resting lightly on my arm. "Then tell me, when will be the right time?" I hesitated, then gently removed her hand. "When I can look at you and not remember the man you left behind." I walked away, but her voice followed me, soft, almost breaking. "Then I'll wait, Michael. No matter how long it takes." I didn't turn around. The next few weeks were chaos. Investors, board meetings, expansion plans. Heliocore was growing faster than I could breathe. Yet, in the quiet moments between success and exhaustion, my mind drifted back to her trembling voice, her broken pride, to the memory of who we once were. And then something unexpected happened. One morning, my secretary burst into my office, breathless. "Sir, you need to see this. It's urgent." She handed me a tablet. On the screen was a breaking news alert. Heliocore's competitor accused of corporate espionage, data theft, and sabotage under investigation. My company had been under attack for months. Someone had been leaking information about our upcoming energy model, costing us millions. And now the culprit had been caught. My blood ran cold when I saw the name. Clara Evans. It didn't make sense at first. My Clara? The same woman who'd come begging for forgiveness? I read the details again, and my hands trembled slightly. She had been working with one of my rivals, passing confidential files in exchange for money to pay off her debts. Anger burned through me, sharp and cold. Not because of the betrayal itself, but because I had almost believed she'd changed. That evening, as the police escorted her into the station, reporters crowded the scene. I watched from a distance, my chest tight. Her hair was disheveled, her eyes red, not from shame, but from disbelief. She saw me standing by the black car and froze. "Michael," she cried, her voice breaking. "Please, you have to believe me. I didn't mean for this to happen." For a second, I almost did. There was still something hauntingly real in her desperation. But I'd learned that love without trust is just a slow form of self-destruction. The next morning, I was in my office when my lawyer entered with a folder. "Sir," he said carefully, "there's something new. The investigation team found evidence that Clara wasn't working alone." My head snapped up. "What do you mean?" "She was manipulated," he continued. "The rival CEO used her, threatened her with falsified documents, blackmailing her into leaking data. She tried to stop it, but didn't know how." I stared at the papers. Every instinct inside me wrestled with disbelief and regret. And then I realized she had fallen again, but this time not from greed, from fear. That evening, I visited the detention center. She sat behind a glass panel, looking small, fragile, nothing like the woman who once threw me out of my own home. Her eyes lifted when she saw me. "You came," she whispered, as if she couldn't believe it. I sat down slowly. "I came for the truth." Tears filled her eyes. "I didn't betray you, Michael. I swear. They had something on me, something that could have ruined my life. I tried to warn you, but—" Her voice broke completely. For the first time in years, I saw not the woman who left me for money, but the girl who once believed in me before the world knew my name. And as she trembled, I felt a familiar ache rise within me. "Clara," I said quietly, "this is your last chance to tell me everything." She leaned forward, her voice low, urgent. "There's more to this than you think. The man who blackmailed me, he's the same one who stole your father's idea all those years ago." I froze. Her words hit me like thunder in a silent room. My heart pounded as I stared at her, realizing that the past I thought I'd buried had just clawed its way back into my life. And in that moment, I knew this wasn't just about betrayal anymore. It was about uncovering a secret that could destroy everything I'd built, or finally set my father's name free. The air in that room turned heavier than stone. My mind reeled as Clara's trembling words sank into my bones. The same man who'd stolen my father's invention, the one who'd erased his name from history, was still out there, and now he had resurfaced in the shadows of my own success. "Who is he?" I demanded, leaning forward, my voice low, fierce. She swallowed, glancing around nervously as though the walls themselves had ears. "His name is Victor Halden," she whispered, "the CEO of Solaris Dynamics." My breath hitched. Solaris Dynamics, Heliocore's greatest rival, a company that had risen from nowhere, copying our every innovation, always one step ahead. I'd assumed they were just efficient, but this was something far darker. Clara's eyes glistened with tears. "He knew about your father's sketches, Michael. He told me everything. How he partnered with your father decades ago, how he sabotaged him, took the patents, and let him die broke. And now he's trying to take everything from you too." Her words sent a cold shiver down my spine. My father's voice echoed in my memory. Asterisk, "Never let anyone own your mind, son. Ideas are worth more than gold." Asterisk. For the first time in years, I realized my father's ghost wasn't resting. His story wasn't over. I stood abruptly, my fists clenched. "Then neither is mine." Over the next few days, I set everything into motion. I had my legal team dig into old archives, private investigators unearth documents, and digital forensics comb through the stolen data. Every thread led back to Victor. Every whisper of sabotage, every bribe, every piece of deceit, it all traced to him. But I wasn't going to bring him down with anger. I was going to do it with proof. and I was going to do it publicly. Clara, meanwhile, remained in custody. I visited her often, not out of affection, but because I needed her insight. The truth was tangled between her guilt and her fear. Slowly, I saw something real begin to emerge. Not the gold digger who'd left me for money, but a woman who was finally confronting the monster she'd once helped feed. "Why are you helping me?" she asked one night, her voice fragile. "After everything I did to you, why not let me rot in here?" I looked at her through the glass and said, "Because forgiveness isn't about you. It's about me not letting hate own what my father built." She didn't reply, but tears rolled silently down her cheeks. Weeks later, the breakthrough came. My cybersecurity team found an encrypted folder buried deep within Solaris's private servers, a digital trail linking Victor directly to the stolen patents from 25 years ago. There it was, in his signature, the original blueprints of the smart grid design. My father's handwriting, still visible in the margins. I stared at the screen for a long time. My throat tightened. It felt as though my father was standing beside me, his calloused hand resting on my shoulder. "Now you know the truth, son." I decided to end it in the same way Victor had destroyed my father, with a single public move. The next week, HelioCore hosted a massive press conference at the Grand Imperial Hall. Every major network, journalist, and investor was present. It was meant to be an announcement of our latest innovation, but what I had planned was far more powerful. I walked onto the stage, the blinding lights painting my face gold. Cameras clicked. Whispers spread. Victor Halden sat in the front row, smug and confident, completely unaware that his empire was seconds away from burning. "Ladies and gentlemen," I began, my voice steady but charged with fire. HelioCore was built on truth, on the vision of a man who believed energy should empower the world, not enslave it. That man was my father. But for decades, his name was erased from history by greed. The crowd murmured. Victor's smirk faltered slightly. "Tonight," I continued, clicking the remote, "I intend to restore that truth." The massive screen behind me lit up with images, the original patents, the blueprints, the signed partnership documents between my father and Victor Halden. The audience gasped as timestamps and email records appeared, showing how Victor had stolen, rebranded, and profited from the very technology that HelioCore now perfected. Reporters surged forward. Cameras flashed wildly. Victor's face turned pale, his composure cracking as he rose to his feet. "This is slander," he shouted, his voice breaking. "You can't." "Oh, I can," I interrupted coldly. "Because everything you see here has been verified by 3 independent cybersecurity firms and federal investigators. You didn't just steal from my father, Victor. You tried to bury his legacy. But today, the world knows who really built the future." The hall erupted in chaos. Journalists fired questions, flashes blinded the air, and Victor was escorted out by security as the crowd jeered. My father's name, Jonathan Reed flashed across every screen in the room, glowing like justice reborn. That night, the news exploded worldwide. The truth behind the smart grid scandal. HelioCore founder exposes corporate deception. The son who redeemed his father's legacy. Victor's empire crumbled within days. Investigations followed, lawsuits mounted, and by the end of the month, Solaris Dynamics was bankrupt. The world watched as the man who had stolen everything lost it all in the same way. Publicly, humiliatingly, irreversibly. But victory didn't feel like triumph. It felt quiet, heavy, because behind the noise and applause, I couldn't stop thinking about Clara. When the case ended, I arranged for her release. The charges against her were dropped after she helped expose the corruption network that linked Victor to multiple shell companies. She walked out of the detention center one morning, frail but free. I was waiting outside. Her eyes met mine, unsure if she should approach. "I don't deserve this," she murmured. "No," I said softly, "but you've earned a second chance." She blinked rapidly, as if trying to hold back tears. "I don't expect you to forgive me, Michael. Not after everything." "I already did," I replied. "But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It just means I'm done carrying the weight." She nodded slowly, understanding what I didn't need to say. We walked in silence toward my car. The sun was rising, painting the city in gold. For the first time in years, it didn't feel like an ending. It felt like something new breathing to life. Over the next few months, Heliocore soared higher than ever. Investors flooded in. The government awarded my father a posthumous medal for his contributions, and his name was etched into the Hall of Global Innovators. Standing there at the ceremony, watching the plaque unveiled, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: peace. Afterward, I found Clara standing at a distance, watching quietly. She'd changed: simpler clothes, gentler eyes, a humility that time and pain had carved into her. "Your father would be proud," she said softly. I smiled faintly. Maybe, but he'd probably tell me to stop working and eat something first. She laughed quietly. For a moment, we were just two people who had lived through the storm and somehow found calm on the other side. In time, Clara left for Ghana to start a foundation supporting young inventors, an idea she said was inspired by my father's story. She sent letters sometimes, never asking for anything, just telling me how proud she was to finally be doing something real. As for me, I didn't remarry. I didn't chase love or revenge. I focused on what mattered: building, creating, and giving back. But sometimes, on quiet nights, I still thought of her, not as the woman who left me, but as the one who reminded me that even broken people can become part of something beautiful when truth finally sets them free. Years later, during the unveiling of Heliocore's next innovation, a clean energy satellite system that would power entire continents, I stood before another roaring crowd. My speech began as it always did, but this time, I added something new. I once believed success was about proving people wrong, I said, my voice carrying across the hall. But I've learned that real success is about proving the right people right, the ones who believed in you even when you had nothing. My father was that person. And to those who betrayed me, thank you. Because you taught me that betrayal can become the fire that forges greatness. The audience rose in thunderous applause. Cameras flashed. Somewhere among the crowd, I caught sight of a familiar figure near the back: Clara. She smiled, her eyes glistening with pride, not envy. And for a fleeting second, I smiled back. Because maybe forgiveness wasn't about forgetting the scars, but learning to see them as proof that you survived. That night, as I stood alone on the rooftop of my building, the city lights stretching endlessly below, I looked up at the stars and whispered, "We did it, Dad." The wind brushed against my face, almost like an answer. In that moment, I realized something profound. Life has a way of circling back, of weaving pain and love, loss and triumph, until every broken piece forms a masterpiece. And though my story had been born in betrayal, it ended in something far greater: rebirth, redemption, and the unshakable truth that sometimes, the ones who throw you out of your own life are the very ones who lead you to discover who you were always meant to become.